Humans had just entered the galaxy. However, they hadn't overlooked the Galactic Council, an organization that oversees the most developed species in the cosmos. Meetings were held suspended in a grand hall orbiting far above a distant star, a place built for diplomacy at the highest level, where every decision could shape entire worlds. But now, the Council's focus had shifted. To Earth, the newest member of the galaxy, delegates from across the stars gathered. Voices echoed in different languages and tones, all centered around one question: what should be done about humanity? To them, Earth was primitive. A minor curiosity at best. They observed humans from afar, watching as we took our first bold steps into deep space. Many representatives believed we were beneath them. One elder of the Quallen, his skin like polished silver, chuckled as he said, "Humans are barely heavier than children. They rely entirely on machines. They argue about resources like animals. Their planet has a violent past." Another, a towering leader of the crystalline Shora, nodded. "They are not united," she said with cold sarcasm. "A fragmented species, forever at odds, driven by ancient grudges and outdated greed." The discussion continued. The majority agreed humans would be allowed entry, but only on the Council's terms. They would join the Galactic Network as subordinates, thankful for protection, grateful for guidance. One's land representative, a thin creature with softly glowing limbs, stated, "They will be given membership, as other young species have. In return, they will learn humility, they will trade, they will serve." Even among the warrior races, those famed for their honor and strength, few disagreed. They merely demanded that humanity prove its loyalty first, before it could earn any status at all. Agreement echoed through the chamber. The Council would send a message, an invitation dressed as a command. The assumption? Humans would kneel. As so many others had, but from the shadows, a voice rose. A quiet elder named Moa. Observer of the island worlds, she had studied humanity closely. And what she said was this: they have seen war, not just between nations, but within their own souls. They've endured, they've adapted, they've grown stronger. Because they had to, her words were dismissed. The Council saw only the surface, the division, the chaos, the limited technology. They saw what they wanted to see. And so, with smug confidence, they moved forward. A formal request was drafted. An invitation to Earth, but the intent was clear. It was an ultimatum: comply or face consequences. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been watching for centuries. We had looked up at the stars and wondered, waited, prepared. When that message finally came, Earth's leaders responded with diplomacy. Measured, calm, but behind closed doors there was a very different conversation. They saw the threat, and they acted. In secret, Earth's scientists, planners, and military leaders forged an alliance unlike any before. Not an empire, but a network, a coalition of brilliant minds, pooling knowledge, designing ships not for domination but for survival, small, fast, built with adaptive cloaking. Shielding that evolved. Targeting systems that could change in real time, and one rule: every fleet acts, adapts, and invents independently. Even when cut off from command, they studied alien tech, expanded on it, tested tactics, simulated invasions, and trained for war no one hoped would come. Earth's space fleet was quiet, hidden in the dark, but it was real. It was ready, and while the Council mocked us as young, humanity turned its gaze inward and built something unseen. Satellites mapped hyperspace corridors. Intelligence networks gathered alien data. Council languages, strategies, weaknesses, all cataloged. Earth was no longer wondering if the Council would arrive. We knew it was only a matter of time. The Council's message came, an offer, a promise of peace, in exchange for submission. Dismantle your defenses, relinquish control. Hand over your sovereignty, live under our protection. Serve, obey Earth's. Leaders did not respond immediately. They debated, carefully. Too much cooperation and we would be absorbed. Too much resistance and we might spark a war. So they sent a diplomatic reply, respectful, non-committal. We were considering their generous offer, but the Council saw only hesitation. They assumed fear. They assumed weakness, and so they sent a fleet. Not for war, but for display, a show of power. Ships the size of cities. Descending into Earth's orbit, they expected awe. They expected surrender, but what they got was silence. Earth watched, calculated, waited. Behind the veil of welcome messages and formal greetings. Our analysts tracked every move, measured every ship, listened to every encrypted signal. We learned, we adapted, we prepared because the Council had made one fatal error. They thought we were still looking up at the stars, wishing to belong, but the truth was we had already arrived. And now we were watching them. The authority of the Council viewed this as a custom, one that had been carried out innumerable times with other species. They presumed nothing would change on Earth, but what they were unaware of was that humanity wasn't preparing for a ceremony. As the Council fleet of the galaxy approached Earth, they maintained an atmosphere of serene dominance. Rows of enormous, stylish vessels created a show of immense power, a clear demonstration of the Council's might. These ships' captains moved in practiced precision, confident that their presence alone would convey their message. After all, this was supposed to be symbolic, a ritual, a gesture, a visit without confrontation. They believed Earth posed no threat, merely a juvenile participant, to be healed and integrated into the galactic fold. But as the fleet entered Earth's orbit, a series of surprising indications began to appear on their scanners. At first, alien operators dismissed them as noise. A simple error, but the signals grew. Forming distinct patterns, the operators became aware they were not alone. The Earth fleet had arrived, dispersed, cloaked, and built with a mix of antiquated and cutting-edge technology. The Earth fleet revealed a well-structured formation. The Council ships quickly noted the overwhelming quantity of human vessels, emerging from hidden, strategically advantageous positions that surrounded the Council fleet. Though the human ships were smaller, they carried a presence efficient, deliberate, and precise. Every vessel bore marks of thoughtful engineering, balance between power and accuracy. This was no juvenile fleet. This was something built with insight. Alien commanders looked at each other in disbelief. This wasn't a welcoming party. This was a display of strength. Human ships moved in silence, with no flourish, no theatrics. Every movement suggested discipline and deep familiarity with Council fleet tactics. The Council's most elite units had anticipated awe, submission, fear. Instead, they were met with readiness. A tense silence fell across the command decks of the Council's fleet as they began to realize the gravity of the moment. Then humanity spoke, a signal, calm, direct, sent through every frequency, not a flowery speech, not threats. Just a simple message: Earth's sovereignty will be upheld. Any attempt to violate it will be addressed. No bravado, just quiet certainty. The Council commanders, for the first time, hesitated. Evaluations began. Desperate scans, projections, and what they found was deeply unsettling. Human ships were equipped with systems the Council believed beyond their reach. Cloaking, shielding, targeting, and more. They were seamlessly integrated, functioning, dangerous. The Council had arrived with overwhelming firepower. But the Earth fleet held the advantage in speed, coordination, and unpredictability. Orders were sent. The Council fleet began to break formation, spreading out. What once felt like confident dominance now looked like vulnerability. Grouping together had become a risk. Their formation, a weakness. For the first time, humans were not seen as allies or children. They were opponents. The human fleet didn't advance. They didn't threaten. They simply held position. Silent. Unyielding. When Council ships tried to intimidate, Earth's fleet responded every time with quiet, calculated shows of capability. No escalation, but no submission either. Hours passed, and Council leaders began to understand. They had misjudged. They had expected reverence, obedience. Instead, they met a race that stood firm, calm, collected, unshaken. The Council was forced to reassess not just its strategy, but its assumptions. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't immaturity. This was resolve. Earth sent one final message. A short diplomatic note from the fleet's commander. Earth remains open to peaceful collaboration, but we will not tolerate threats to our sovereignty. The Council had no choice. Quietly, almost shamefully, their fleet broke formation and turned away. No shots fired. No grand speeches. Humanity had held its ground. And in doing so, demonstrated a power beyond weaponry, a power rooted in discipline. And will. Each Council ship retreated in order, a planned withdrawal. But everyone knew what it truly was, a defeat. Back at the Council's chambers, the mood was shattered. Confidence was gone. Delegates demanded explanations. The fleet commanders had none that would satisfy. Reports flowed in disturbing, unexpected, tactical assessments, psychological analysis. Every single file said the same thing: humanity would not be tamed. This wasn't technological luck. This wasn't stolen power. This was something deeper, a will to remain free. The Council had subdued unruly species before, but never like this. Never with such silent resistance and undeniable tactical intelligence. Humanity was different. Conversations changed. Earth was no longer seen as a matter of discipline, but of respect. And everyone in the chamber knew another attempt at subjugation would not end well. Not just for Earth, but for the Council's fragile authority. Other young species were watching. Inspired. The Council realized the spark of rebellion had been lit. Some urged war, others cautioned. And the wisest among them suggested a third path. Partnership. Not from a place of trust, but of necessity. They would approach Earth again, this time not as conquerors, but as equals. No threats, no demands. An offer of collaboration. Technology for technology, knowledge for knowledge. An uneasy alliance. Earth's leaders accepted carefully.